Hey guys, it's Lane with Tim's Nation. I'm here today to talk a little bit about my DeathWatch army that I'm bringing today. Now I know I play DeathWatch quite a bit, but today I'm doing something a little bit different. Bringing some different models that I haven't had on the channel before. I just got a couple Repulsor Executioners painted up, and I'm using a strategy I haven't used before, a damage output strategy. It may be familiar to people that played Space Marines back when they could actually reroll wounds on the Oath of Moment target. But today's DeathWatch army is a DevWatch army. Dev for devastating wounds. I'm tired. I'm tired of my opponents getting to make armor saves and invulnerable saves. I'm done with letting them make saves. Now, there are a lot of weapons in the Space Marine army that can create or generate devastating wounds. The problem is there's very few ways to do that consistently. Most of the ways that you generate devastating wounds are through either Gatling cannons, onslaught Gatling cannons, or assault cannons. Thunderhammers do it as well. The problem is, in most of the Space Marine book, there's no consistent way to re-roll wounds for those specific weapons. There are things like twin-linked. There are some twin-linked assault cannons on Land Raider. There's the twin-linked onslaught Gatling cannon on the Reaper, the Gladiator Reaper. So there are some ways to do it. However, DeathWatch has the Tome of Ectoclades enhancement. And what the Tome of Ectoclades does is once per game in your command phase, after you pick your Oath of Moment target, you can pick a second target. And for that turn, your whole entire army will reroll all hits and all wounds into both targets. That's the specific wording in the enhancement. Reroll all hits and wounds into both targets. So it gives Old Oath of Moment to the original target as well as the bonus one. So for one turn, I'll have two targets that my entire army is going to be re-rolling their hits and wounds into. And when I pair that with taking a whole bunch of guns that have the devastating wound ability on them, and with the sustained ability, so for once per game I can use one of my mission tactics that gives my entire army sustained hits, it means one turn in this game, I'm going to be able to generate a lot of devastating wounds. As long as DJ does the courtesy of coming to me so that I can see him and then shoot him. So we're going to go through the list. I'm going to talk a little bit of how it works. Some things running a little bit differently from what I normally do here, so I want to talk about my specific strategy with some of these units. But here we go. Let's talk about today's DeathWatch. All right, the army today is DeathWatch. It is the Black Spear Detachment. We have two characters today. We have a captain. We have to have a captain because the Tome of Ectoclades enhancement can only go on a captain or a watchmaster. So we do have a captain with a relic shield today. We also have a biologist apothecary. He has the enhancement Beacon Angelus. What that means is he will give the unit he attaches to both deep strike and the ability to rapid ingress for free. That'll be important when we talk about some of the units that the unit he'll be joining. But yeah, we got the captain, the apothecary biologist. Next, we have, for the first time on the channel, I am bringing the company heroes. This is this weird little 4-man unit that GW created at the start of 10th edition, or at the start of the Space Marine Codex. It's just a weird little unit, guys. I'm taking him today because the rules of the Tome of Enhancement, its wording says that the captain carrying the enhancement must be on the table during the command phase in order for it to be used. And certain units will be coming in from deep strike. Certain units will be getting out of transports. So I can't have them attached to any of my big damage dealing units. So rather than just have them standing out there in the wind, I swapped out the Calidus Assassin that was like 90 points for this company heroes. I think they're 90 or 95 points. And all they are is 4 guys, 4 Space Marines, but they do have 4 wounds apiece. And their special rule is when they're joined by a character, they are neg-1 to wound. So they are somewhat durable with a neg-1 to wound and 4 wounds apiece. And then there is a guy with a Mastercrafted Bolter. There's a guy with a Mastercrafted Heavy Bolter. There is the Ancient carrying the flag that gives them extra OC. The model has a power sword on it, but in this unit, he can't actually have a power sword, so he doesn't. And then there is a company hero. And all this means is between the company and the hero and the captain, this unit gets 12 attacks at strength 5, AP2, 2 damage with the Mastercrafted power swords. And once per game, the captain can pop off extra 3 hits or 3 attacks in his profile. So they would get 15 attacks, which is pretty decent, especially for kind of, I'm not going to be throwing out there at the beginning of the game, but near the end of the game, they may be great for fending off the last remnants of DJ's army, fighting someone off with a few good master-crafted power sword attacks. Maybe that master-crafted heavy bolter that's 3 damage will get a chance to do a little bit of work. But next, we have, boy, do we have them. We have Eradicators. Now, today I am bringing 12 Eradicators. There's 1 6-man brick, and there's 2 3-mans. Now, Eradicators have a lot of potential. They reroll all their hits, their wounds, and their damage into vehicles and monsters. However, their meltas are only an 18-inch range, and they're only strength 9. So most of the time when you're shooting vehicles that you want to be able to destroy, higher toughness vehicles, toughness 9, toughness 10, toughness 12 or higher, their strength 9 that still needs 5s to wound. So even with the rerolls, sometimes you just roll low and don't manage to pop off. So there is some risk to them, and their meltas are only 18-inch range. So the problem with them is that their range is not always there, and sometimes delivering them into range is difficult. If you put them on the table, they can get shot. Most people are teching into some way of doing some 3 damage attacks because they know they have to worry about Eradicators, or Inceptors are very popular right now. So a lot of people are ready to destroy elite 3 wound infantry, like Chosen and that sort of thing, and Sword Brethren. So in order to keep them around, the 6-man brick is going to be with the Apothecary. And the Apothecary is an enhancement. The Beacon Angelus, like I said, will allow them to deep strike. So the 6-man brick will deep strike, true deep strike, not walking off from reserves, and they can rapid ingress for free. Rapid ingress is great because it means that they can come in and then move 5 inches in my turn so that they can get within Melta range, hopefully. So we'll see if I get to use that rapid ingress today. But then we got 2 3-mans. And then the 3-mans, I don't want to put them in reserves because a lot of times in 10th edition, with a 10th edition GW terrain layout, sometimes coming in from reserves does not give you good lines of sight for shooting. So what I'm doing today is I have, later on the list we'll talk about, 2 Repulsor Executioners. They both have a 6-man transport capacity. The Grabs Armor guys count as 2. So each one can take a 3-man Eradicator squad. That's how I'm going to deliver these 3-man Eradicators into range to do the work that they need to do and keep them safe in the meantime. So other than that, the only other infantry is a 5-man Terminator squad. Now, the DeathWatch Terminators can take 3 heavy weapons per 5-man squad. In the past, I've done Cyclone missile launchers because they're great value, but today the theme is going to be devastating wounds. So we have 3 assault cannons in this. Each one's 6 shots, strength 5 or 6, AP nothing, but they do have dev wounds. Then we've got, for the first time I think in a long time, I've got the Invader ATV. I had a few points left over. He's only 70 points, so I put him in, and he has an Onslaught Gatling cannon, so he will get 8 shots that have dev wounds. Next, we have 3 Redemptor Dreadnoughts, and I've given them all Onslaught Gatling cannons, the heavy and the regular Onslaught Gatling cannon. So each of these guys gets 20 shots that have the dev wounds keyword on them. So they have the potential to kick out a ton of dev wounds. And then, of course, they punch really well in combat as well, and they're very durable with their 2-up armor and the fact that they're reduced damage by 1. And then finally, we've got 2 Repulsor Executioners. This is the first time I've run these on the channel. They're big tanks that are bristling with guns. They've got a big old laser cannon on the front. It's got 2 shots, strength 16. No, strength 18, I believe. I will double check that on it for you. But it's AP4, D6 plus 4 damage from this big gun. And then they each have a heavy Onslaught Gatling cannon as well. So each one of these guys has 12 shots that have the dev wounds ability on them. And then it's just loaded with a bunch of smaller shots as well. Strength 16, yeah, is the big gun on those. So it has a ton of little shots. It does have some dev wounds, and it does have the big anti-tank shots on there. So like I said, today's theme is devastating wounds. On 1 turn, I'll be able to pop my Tome of Ectoclades and have 2 targets that I reroll all hits and all wounds into. All in all, in this whole army, there are 110 shots that have the dev wound ability on them. Meaning, if I pop off my sustained ability for 1 turn, the same turn I pop off the Tome of Ectoclades. I've done the math. Correct me if I'm wrong, please. But 110 shots should get me around 120 hits because I'm re-rolling all hits into those 2 targets, and I have sustained on 6s for the whole army. So it should give me around 120 hits. And with the dev wounds, re-rolling the wounds as well, it should wind up around 37 dev wounds between those 2 targets. It's only 1 turn, but I can definitely have the ability to pop that off when I need to and really make sure 2 units just go away. Like I said, I am so tired of my opponents rolling saves, armor saves, invuln saves. I'm done with it. So for this game today, I'm going to have 1 glorious turn where my opponent does not get to make saves because I'm going to just pump out the dev wounds. Now, the total build of this list is really built around the idea of having those eradicators there so they can pop transports. Transports that contain, maybe it's Chosen, maybe it's Black Templar Sword Brethren, or any other, or Death Guard Plague Marines. There are a bunch of the guys that go around. There's a lot of, in the meta right now, there are a lot of different armies that have specifically hard-hitting combat units that ride around in transports. So the idea is I can choose my Oath of Moment targets, even if they're inside transports. So the eradicators can blow up the transports because they don't need them to be Oath of Moment. They're going to reroll all hits, wounds, and damage into any vehicles anyways. And then the rest of the army can just pour dev wounds into whatever comes out of those. Now, in today's matchup, I don't have any transports that I need to pop. I do have a few vehicles in my opponent's list here, but it's not really the true test of how that's going to work. But I wanted to see how the damage output will work with this. And I wanted to test it against DJ's Hypercrypt because part of the challenge of this army is making sure I get everything in the range. All those onslaught Gatling cannons and assault cannons, they only have a 24-inch range. I do have some mobility on the units that are carrying them, but it can still be tricky to get everything to focus in for that 1 big turn of impact damage. So stick with me. Follow me over to the battle report. Let's see how this very skewed damage output list does today.